So if you're on a fertility journey, getting the news that your frozen embryo transfer, or FET, has to be canceled, well, it can feel absolutely devastating, like a huge step backward. But today, we're going to break down why it's actually one of the most strategic steps forward you can take. Okay, this is the most important thing to hold on to. It's an idea that comes straight from the experts. This isn't a failure. It's not a setback. It is a calculated, strategic medical decision, and it's made to protect your ultimate goal, a successful pregnancy. All right, let's just start by talking about that moment. The moment you get that unexpected call. I mean, after all the prep, all the anticipation, hearing that news can be completely gut-wrenching. You've done everything right. You followed every single instruction. You were so diligent with the meds. You made it to every appointment. You've literally planned your life around this cycle. And then the phone rings and your whole plan changes. Feeling disappointed is completely normal, totally valid, but understanding why that call was made, that's the first and most important step to moving forward with real confidence. So what's actually happening here? What's the science behind hitting the pause button? Well, it all comes down to a super precise biological timeline. In a lot of ways, fertility medicine is really the science of perfect timing. Look, the success of the entire transfer really hangs on hitting this incredibly brief implantation window. You can think of it like a docking sequence for a spaceship. Everything has to be aligned perfectly. The uterine lining is only ready to welcome an embryo for maybe 1 to 2 days in the entire cycle. If you miss that window, the chance of implantation just plummets. Now, there are basically 2 ways a cycle is managed, and timing can go off script in both of them. In a natural cycle, we're letting the body take the lead, but sometimes it just decides to ovulate earlier than we expect. In a medicated cycle, we're supposed to be in the driver's seat, using hormones. But even then, a stubborn follicle can sometimes break through that medication, ovulate too early, and slam that implantation window shut before we're ready. And this brings us to the most crucial part of all of this, reframing what happened from a huge disappointment to an empowered, really smart choice. This is the big question, isn't it? If the timing is just a little bit off, why not just go ahead? Why not roll the dice and see what happens? Why call the whole thing off? Well, the answer is all about protecting your most valuable assets. First and most importantly, it protects your embryo. You would never want to use a precious, maybe even genetically tested embryo on a cycle where you know the chances are super low. Second, it protects you, your emotional well-being, and your wallet from the strain of a failed transfer. And finally, it protects your overall chance of success by making sure that when you do transfer, the uterine environment is absolutely perfect for implantation. So at the end of the day, your medical team is making a proactive choice. It's a reset button. They're choosing to pause and just wait for the perfect conditions, which gives your embryo the absolute best start possible. This is all about doing things right, not just doing them fast. And here's the really good news. A canceled cycle is not a dead end, not even close. It actually gives your team incredibly valuable information that helps them create an even better, more confident plan for the next attempt. Your medical team just learned so much about how your body responds, and now they can make some simple but really powerful adjustments. If you are on a natural cycle, they might suggest a medicated one to get more control. If you are already on a medicated cycle, maybe they'll add stronger suppression meds to make sure ovulation doesn't break through again. Or they might just decide to monitor you more closely to catch any tiny hormonal shifts even earlier next time. Okay, let's just take a second to tackle some of the big worries that pop into your head after a cancellation, because those feelings are real and they are totally valid. This is usually where the mind goes first, right? It's a common fear. Is my body failing me? Is something wrong? Let me be really clear. The answer is no. Not at all. It does not mean something is wrong. Unexpected ovulation is just a natural biological variation. It happens. It's simply the body's own rhythm being a little unpredictable, not a sign of a problem. Okay, next question. What about the embryos? After everything it took to create them, are they okay? Are they safe? 100% yes. Your embryos are perfectly safe. They just stay in their cryopreserved state, totally unaffected, and they'll be waiting patiently for the next, better-timed cycle. And finally, the big one. Does this hurt my long-term chances of success? Actually, it's the exact opposite. This decision helps preserve your overall success rate. Think about it.
By canceling a mistimed cycle, you're avoiding using an embryo in a low-potential situation. You're saving that embryo for a cycle with a much, much higher chance of working. So you're actually protecting your long-term odds.
So, what's the big takeaway here? Every fertility journey is different, and they almost never follow a perfectly straight line. A strategic pause isn't a delay. It's often the smartest, fastest path to your goal. So, if this happens to you, try to reframe that question in your head from, why did this fail? To, what did we just learn to make the next time perfect?